Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Town of Barnstable Waterways Committee meeting for Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. Before we get going, I must advise that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast on Channel 18 and in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. I must inquire if anyone is recording this meeting. If so, please make their presence known. So the meeting is called to order. We'll act on the minutes for the June 24th. And members present, we have Gary Schramick, myself, Paul Everson, and who's our third? We have Jacob.
Yep,
Jacob.
Thanks, Jacob. So if everybody's had a chance to look at those June minutes, I'll entertain a motion to accept them as written.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Okay, Jacob, thank you.
Mr. Everson, you also have Todd Willantis entering right now.
Okay, thank you. So can I get a second on approval of the minutes from June?
Second.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, first we have on our notices of intent, applicant 260/270 Vineyard Road LLC. Project location is at 260-270 Vineyard Road. In Katuitt, representative is John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering. Project is to repair and maintain existing revetment and to extend the cobble berm. Applicant Steve and Wendy D'Angelo. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have? Okay, so that's a second one there. So we have Mr. O'Day. Okay. I'm familiar with that property. It's a rock revetment at the end of Vineyard Road. Yeah. I think this has been repaired once before too. Jay, do you have any particulars on this?
Yeah, I can pull up the plans for you. I didn't see that it was gonna be extending any further than it already is. It looks like just a repair, and then it looks like it's going east to west, not any further out in the water. I didn't see any issues with navigation on the plans, which you can see here. Sorry, let me just share my screen. That's the plans that were sent to us.
Okay. Yeah, that's a large, the last breakwater coming down, going into Papaneset Bay. And I know that's been backwashed once and it had to be repaired quite a few years ago now. But and then there's some cobble to the west there that helps sustain that bank. So I'm quite familiar with that. So I don't have any problem with that as long as we don't are going further out. But you say the plans look like it's not. Any other comments from committee members?
I'm
fine with that. I'm okay with it.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Thanks, Todd. Second?
Second. Yeah.
Thanks, Gary. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's unanimous. Next, we have the applicant Stephen Wendy D'Angelo. Project location is 108 Long Beach Road in Centerville. And Dan Ojala from Down Cape Engineering is representing them. Proposed fixed pier, ramp and floats. Do we have Dan?
Yeah, present.
Good evening, sir. Please go ahead.
Sure. I can pull up, or it looks like I'm able to share my screen, so I'll do that. Or I don't know if Jay can pull up the plan. It says it's not allowed, but if you allow me to, I will. Otherwise, we could look at someone else's screen.
Yeah, I have the plans pulled up and the location. Let me just show the committee members where we're talking about first,
Sure.
and then I'll pull the plans up for you guys. This is located towards the end of the Centerville River. Parcel number 108, if I'm not mistaken. Everyone knows it's the Dan McCarthy boat ramp here. And up around the bend is parcel 108. Just give my screen a little minute to catch up here. And then I'll pull the plans up for you gentlemen. Just give me a second, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone can see the plans.
Yep.
Would you like to speak to this, Daniel?
Sure. For the record, Dan Ojala, I'm a land surveyor and civil engineer with Down Cape Engineering in Yarmouthport, and helping the owner out with permitting, hopefully permitting an expansion of the existing license 6539. He's got a small ramp and float there now that is a little too shallow to do too much with. You can see in the photo before they had roughly a 22 footer or something on there. 20-ish foot boat, but it really wants a little bit more water. As was mentioned, this is kind of in a backwater here. It's the Centerville River, but it's that one little lobe that sticks off to the east, where there's I don't know, 5 or 6 piers to the east of us, one across from us, and not a lot of traffic. So it's not as though you're near the boat ramp where you've got all those floats and a lot of traffic going up and down. It's kind of a dead end. It was dredged and it's fairly deep. We were hoping to go out the length shown on this plan here. Conservation, you guys hadn't had a chance to review it before conservation, and conservation chimed in. They thought a little bit shorter pier would be appropriate. I made the point you've got almost 75 feet to get turned around even with that boat there, a good sized boat, but they thought that was a little bit too far out. So, if this committee feels that way too, we'll certainly retract it a little bit. I know a couple to the east, we ended up pulling it back. I don't know if it was this committee or the conservation, but they didn't want it quite out as far as we have it here. But this is one of the ones where that's set up. There's a home across the street, and because you can't really have a pier on the open sound, they're set up with lots on this side for the pier. And the neighbor to our west there, Wallace, him and his representative spoke and thought that perhaps this was a little bit too much. It's too close to their float. Our owner did reach out, and we mentioned perhaps they enjoy 2 floats on their property that are spaced fairly wide apart, and maybe we could work with them to move one of theirs over and relicense that a little bit. I don't think those conversations got too much further than an initial floating the idea, but we're hopeful that this committee would find that as that is a bit of a backwater up on this end, that it's not a hazard to navigation, that there's a good amount of water on the outside of this, but we would respect your opinion if you wanted us to pull it in a little bit, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you have. The reason that we have it out this far is to get a good water depth. It's not good shellfish habitat, it's all muck, but the Conservation Commission still likes a foot under the bottom of the boat's props. So this makes it with a good sized boat. If we pull it in, we'd probably have to reduce the size of the boat a little bit. So I'd be glad to answer any questions or listen to any comments that you might have. Again, the property to the east, we enjoy about 70 feet to their float, but to the west, it's only about 18 or 19. And ours is a little bit proud of where there would be. So again, there's not too much of a current in here because it's an end of the it's a lobe off of the Centerville River. The main river goes to the north and does flow under the road and continues on up. But this is just kind of a dredged lobe, and it's we think a reasonable proposal. But be glad to answer any questions or hear any comments from you or the abutters. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ojala. Harbor Master's Office, do you have an opinion on this?
What I can tell you is that a similar NOI came before us a few years back. I believe it was parcel 94. It was parcel 94. You guys can see the Centerville River now, right? Correct?
Correct.
Yeah. We did not approve that one. We do have some moorings here. These floats in the middle of the channel are actually permitted moorings. There's a vessel on the side of each dock. When I looked at the plans, they're asking for a 36.5-foot Boston whaler with an 11-foot 9 beam, in addition to the extension that they want on the dock. They stated that there's 73 feet between the neighbor's float and what would be the edge of their new boat. So it would take into account the beam of their vessel. It doesn't take into account the beam of their neighboring vessel here across the channel. That looks like a fairly large size boat, twin outboards. That's got to be close to 10, foot or so. I'm not in favor of this. Again, this is one of these Pandora box situations where people aren't dredging around their docks, and they're asking to extend out into the river, which is already very tight navigation. And I don't want to open up the floodgates to keep doing this all over Barnstable. I think it would be more appropriate to dredge this area to get the size vessel that they're looking to put on there.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Committee members with comments? Well, I recall up and around the corner, we did not allow a couple of docks that wanted to go further out. And in keeping with kind of our guidelines of really not extending further beyond your existing neighbors left and right. So we're looking, the dock in question is the one highlighted in blue, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, parcel 108 right here, Mr. Everson.
Okay, so I can see where it could come out a little bit more, but, and again, as Mr. Ojala said, the house next door seems to have two floats or two docking systems attached to that with the house. Now, Mr. Ojala, the highlighted blue area, so that's the owner's property from across the street, the applicant, correct?
That's accurate. Yeah, you can see in the very bottom, it says number 103. That's the primary residence that goes with this. It's accessory to 103 across the street.
Okay, all right. No structures on the property?
Currently, there's a licensed pier and float, and I don't believe there's much there. There might be, shed, but I wouldn't be. It looks like there's a shed there. Looking at it, it's a butter's garage, and we've got some hedges, but no sheds currently.
Okay, all right, thank you. Even if it were to bump out, kind of, Jay, if we can put a line between the dock to the left and the dock to the right of this one, can you put in that imaginary line there? So from the left of that guy and then down there, okay. Any idea how much further out that is from existing?
about 8 feet, 10 feet, give or take a couple feet right in there. If we're going by the beams of the boat though, that are currently on those,
Right.
not the actual piers themselves, but they look about similar size boats. So I'd say about 8 or 10 feet out would be equivalent to the neighbors.
Okay, and this is a historically dredged area, correct? So there's-
Negative. They don't dredge all the way up. Usually up to Dan McCarthy Landing is dredged, but past that, not to my record.
Okay, would this applicant be able to get a dredging permit, since the Sanibel River has been dredged, or is it historical just where they ended before?
Again, I would say more towards maintenance dredging of the existing pier, but there's many stages to that. First and foremost would be the shell fisheries. That I can't really speak to or answer that at this time.
Okay,
Yeah, and if I could just throw in there, it was only muck. There wasn't a good shellfish habitat right at the pier, but there's a thin sliver of salt marsh, and you really want to be off of that, and then a 3-to-1 slope. So I don't know that would really have much of an opportunity to dredge here. It does certainly appear to have been dredged in the past. I think it was 86. They did a pretty good dredging and study, but I don't know if it's been dredged since then. Um, so it would be hard to do, and I concur though with Brian Jay's rough estimate of about 9 or 10 feet would put us in line with those other boats. That seems accurate compared to my measurements as well.
okay, and what would we have for depth at an additional 10 feet over existing now?
Well, you'd only be about 2 feet of water, I think, at mean low water, about 2 feet. So it's not much.
Okay, and did conservation give you when they said they want you to tuck it in a little? How little are they talking, or did they give you a specific number of feet?
They were didn't want to give us a hard number, but in my estimation, I wasn't going to get it by them unless I pulled it in a full 10 feet. So I do have a revised plan that shows it 10 feet, and it basically adds probably, because then it would be a smaller boat. You'd probably be looking at a 28 footer with a 8.5 foot beam. It increased the size of the gap across to a healthy 86 feet. Now again, you'd take 10 off of that if the neighbor's got a big boat, but that's still 76 feet in a little dead end corridor. I thought that was pretty reasonable. What you're talking about is in of that another bit, so that would be a tough pill to swallow. But it's I could show you what it looks like 10 feet in. I think it's pretty reasonable. That gets us an extra couple feet of water, which would be reasonable. It drops off, relatively smoothly. But every foot you bring in, you're shortening it up a few feet. Well, every 3 feet you come in, you're coming up, almost a foot. So we do sacrifice the water depth as it pulls in that tight. If we could, have the float, where you show that line, I think would be, a little bit proud of that line. I think would be very happy. If we can't, then we'll have to consider it or listen to your recommendation. But just on the other side of that line, if the boat was sitting, I think would have enough water depth.
Yeah, I mean, as you come around the bend here, this dock does stick out a little bit further than its neighbors, so it's not unreasonable to come out a little bit further than the dotted line that we have. I just think the plan as presented is a little much, in my opinion.
What's the length of the float?
So we shortened the floats up to 6 feet wide. It's a little tippy canoe, but we feel we can live with a 6 foot wide float.
How long?
So
Um,
12 feet.
Yeah, we had them at 12s. We went down to 11s with my new proposal. So it's only 132 square foot where 200 square foot would, sometimes be acceptable. It would meet the conservation regulations. Um, so I think it's a lot more reasonable once you pull everything in 10 feet plus and put a smaller boat on it. I could share my screen if you'd like to look at that and
I was just gonna say, Daniel, if you want to email that to me, unfortunately, we're in a breakout room for security reasons. But if you wanted
Yeah,
to email me the plans, I could pull them up. I can't make you a co-host right now. And I
and
Yeah.
apologize.
you'd have to resubmit the plans through conservation as well as us for a new chapter 91 in order to do that. But we
Of
can only
course.
hear what's been presented.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. But like as we're looking at the screen, it's probably a close enough representation that I would have put the float right at starting at the blue line and going up 6 feet, I think would be quite accurate. And so that um, puts the boat a lot closer to shore. You can see just up from there, if you drew a line to maybe not the next one, but the next one would be within that. And across the street, these guys go way out. I mean, again, they're just catching the channel, and I know those do predate us by a bit, but it's not as though, this is the main waterway. It is a backwater. I mean, I've been up there in my boat, but you just go up and turn around, look around. It's just putt, putt, putt. It's not a major thoroughfare by any means. So, maybe out just a little more than that blue line. If you could consider that, I think would be happy campers.
What would be the distance between the neighbor on the left, that end of that float, to the proposed 11-foot long float? I'm just concerned and would like to know what size boat he plans to put on that
Yeah.
so it doesn't overhang and get too close to the other boat.
Right. So, we could centered on the lot. I've got it drawn in where it overhangs about a foot over our lot line on the west and about 2 feet on the east with the smaller boat. So those white lines that extend up from actually, I think a little more accurately would be the fence. The GIS lines on that are not perfect, but the fence is right on the line there. If you extend that fence out, would pretty much just have the motors hanging over that. It would be on the order of 16 feet clear of the end of the float to the motors.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting 14 feet from the neighboring dock to the bow of the existing boat right now. It looks like it's fairly tight.
Is there a house on the property? Or no? That's it. There's just a little lot.
Right, these are the lots. The ones across the street generally have a lot on this side for the pier. So it's 103 on the bottom of the screen there. That's the principal home that owns 108, and they go together as a package.
Where's the house?
103, so right across the street. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. That's the big driveway there, wide driveway, I should say. You're on the south side.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's on this side of the
Yeah,
pier. I
across the street.
apologize.
yeah, right there. You
Yeah.
got it. Yep. And of
This,
course,
excuse me, the lot that we're talking about, or the extension of 103, how wide is that lot, right there?
I believe it's 125, but you maybe just measured on the screen there. If you could, Jay, that would be probably, we're talking about, this one is 25. Across the street is much wider.
Right, but 25 there.
Yeah.
So a 28-foot boat is gonna overhang the property lines.
Less than a 33 though. Yeah, I will a little bit. It will a
Good
little
point,
bit.
Mr. Everson.
But again, it's a situation where, if you talk about fairness, we've got a big house and a big property and a dedicated dock. The neighbor has a big house and more frontage and two docks. Almost everybody has a dock and a good sized boat, or the ability to put a good sized boat. And, to infringe a foot or two, I think that's within the four squares of reasonability.
I don't think anything's really fair. I think that if you have the the boat extends the property line, that seems to be legit for me. And, you know, illegit, you know, is if it's within the boundary of the property line, it doesn't make sense to have it extend past the property line.
Well, I mean, you could put the boat perpendicular to the dock, to the waterway, and then we could get a 25-foot beam boat on there, but that wouldn't normally be what you'd do. You'd normally run it parallel to shore.
25-foot beam boat.
Well, say you had a
25-foot beam boat wouldn't fit across. It would run into the other side of it wouldn't even fit across that waterway at all. It would be on dry land on each side.
Of course, it would depend on the style of boat. If you had a catamaran or something, you could probably rotate it. But yeah, no, I'm just making the point that, to have a dock lot on a big lot across the street, it's not as though we have a tiny cottage and a tiny frontage. It's accessory to something that is an even bigger lot than our neighbor who has two docks. So, to push it just a little tiny bit might not be unreasonable.
The square footage of the land that the property owns has really no reflect on the waterfront. Do
Yeah,
you
fair,
understand? Just
fair
because you
enough.
own more land on land doesn't mean that you deserve more. You have the waterfront space, and this is what this property is allowed. And unfortunately, that's how the lines were drawn. But to be asking for a boat that extends further than the property lines, I just have a big problem with that. And you know
Fair
you
enough.
can't put the boat perpendicular in there. You already know that. So
Yeah, that wouldn't be normal.
Dan, you had mentioned previous that was there a conversation between your client and the neighbor about this? You said that maybe, there would be some movement as far as that next door neighbor moving his dock a little bit over. And you said that really didn't come to fruition, but is there, I guess what I'm getting at is there any communication between your client and the neighbor as far as good, bad, or indifferent about the encroachment on the kind of the riparian line there?
So if he's on, he could certainly speak for himself, but and I believe the abutter has some counsel who's listening carefully, but I believe the offer was made that, gee, if we could get this permitted with a good sized boat, would be willing to move your float over and help you through the permitting process at no cost. Because it is important to us, and it's, he's got a big family, and they'd love to have a good sized boat. So, if we could even get a 28-footer in there, we might be willing to, move his over a little just so he feels more comfortable. He doesn't feel as crowded. And if that was, reasonable to him, it would probably be reasonable to us. But that was just an idea that was floated. It didn't come to anything firm, and I believe they weren't able to circle back before this meeting, both being probably busy people.
Okay. Any other comments from committee members? Well,
No,
would think, go ahead, Todd.
No, I can't agree with it to stretch it out much further, but obviously if we can make a little bit of concession so that they can have some usefulness, that's a tight area, and we've already said no to several other applicants, and I just think we have to be very, very cautious, and it would be ideal if they could move it out as far as they want, but that's just not a reality in today's day and age, because would clog up that whole area, and it wouldn't be navigatable for anybody. So I think within reason, if they stay exactly that dotted line that's drawn, that's palatable. Much more than that, I think we have a little bit of an issue.
Okay, thanks, Todd. Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Gary. I agree.
All right, Gary, thank you.
Mr.
Mr. Chairman, Jay Horn, Deputy Harbor Master. Sarah Agler wanted to make a comment. She had her hand raised.
Yes.
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, Sarah Alger. I represent the Wallaces, who are the owners immediately to the west, whose dock you've been discussing. And We agree with everything that the commissioners have said. I mean, we'd have to say that we we don't think that this is a backwater. We think it gets a fair amount of traffic, even people just kind of poking around. So anything that extends out into that navigable channel is of concern. And certainly going out as far as what the proposal was, and I understand Mr. Ochel is proposing to draw that back, was going to have a significant impact on my client's use of his existing dock. You can see it from the plan that was submitted. The the boat that they've proposed, which has three engines and is, I think, 32 feet, is really just too big for the spot. I mean, for it to slop over both lot lines seems to be a bit of an over ask. They have a 25-foot wide dock lot. They should have a boat that's less than 25 feet. Their existing boat, the boat I think that's shown on these historic photographs is, I think, about 22 feet. It's probably a little bit more appropriate. Pushing it out so that it, matches up with the other docks, I could probably go along with that, but going out much beyond that is definitely going to create issues, and going over the lot line is clearly I think just going a bit too far. And the letter, I know everyone's saying there's no shellfish and it's all muck, but the letter from the Division of Marine Fisheries said that it's still habitat and it's important. And I think that's being lost and is something that everyone should be considering. I don't want to hit it too hard though, because I think you all see the issue and are requesting that it be brought back. So I'm in agreement with everything you've said. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Osler, I would suggest that this committee would not be in favor of extending out. You're kind of getting that feeling from us as your original proposal, and a 33-foot boat would be an overreach on that. So we have denied other docks that historically, recently, that have tried to extend out. As you mentioned, these two docks above this one here, looking at, they would not be approved like that now. That's coming out, at least a third of the way into the waterway, if not approaching a half. So I would say back to the drawing board, look at that line that we had put across there, tuck it back in, and also, number one, consider the length of the boat so it really doesn't overhang the neighbor's property unless you have some sort of a discussion with the neighbors where everybody can kind of get along with with the agreed size of a boat in there, that we could also live with. So any other committee members with any further comments on this? If not, I would propose to continue this and until it comes back to us with revisions.
If I appreciate that, Mr. Everson, and board members, and we'll certainly consider that very carefully. I guess the one point would be, and I thought it was a good one, if we extended that blue line to the next boat down, it would nudge us out maybe another 8 inches to a foot. Is that something that might be reasonable? I think that's the spirit and intent of lining up with all the others, but is that something you might look at?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, with that in mind, we'll go back to the drawing board, and I appreciate your input very much.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
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 Okay, Jay, what do we have up next?
We are going to get on to old business. Let me pull the agenda back up for you. It's Jacob Angelo, fish weir renewal.
Before I leave, one thing, I know there's a Connor Rogan that's trying to get in on I don't know how, in the queue for the meeting. He texted me and was trying to get in just to let you guys know, whoever's in charge of that.
I don't have anybody waiting right now, but if he wants to
All
try
right,
to
I'll
rejoin.
let him know. Thank you very much, and I'll just leave the meeting now.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Jacob, you could just leave. Oh, go ahead.
Do we have Counselor Laura?
Hi, how you doing this evening? David Lawler.
Yeah, I did see him.
We've had what's this, the third meeting now? And then in the meetings last year. So I'm not going to repeat myself too much. What I will do is comment on some of the questions that the board had, and in particular, Chairman Everson had with respect to last month's meeting. I presented an additional 3 or 4 letters in support by some prominent members. You have those. You have them for the record. More importantly, we presented past history of the weirs, showing that they were permitted from March to October historically, and we, the history here is that they were fished both in the spring and the fall historically. Now, I've had some conversations and, with some of the town staff. One of the recommendations that we would like to do on the navigational side is that in front of each of the fish weirs, we were hoping to put a permanent, or not, well, permanent to the extent when from the beginning of installation of the fish weir until its removal, a white caution buoy or danger, whatever word the town would like us to affix on that buoy, so that people can see it during the daytime and understand that this is an area that should be avoided if necessary. And then on top of that buoy, we would install a strobe light with a minimum of a 2-mile viewing under normal viewing conditions. Now, we'll have to work with the town and make sure that, but my understanding is we can do that. I commented before that, these lights are something we definitely are in favor of. We don't want to do too many lights because sometimes the Coast Guard, I believe, finds that those to be too distracting, though we still will have the light on the weir that we indicated. The history here, I can go give my whole presentation again. I don't think it's necessary, but if the board wants to hear that, I will. There's been a tremendous amount of support for this. There's the historical, use of this, as I indicated previously, that goes back hundreds, if not more, with Native Americans. There's the historical use of this as provided by in the records, running both spring and fall. And this is just a good thing for Cape Cod. This is a traditional fishing method that's been used and has been, and I understand in listening to Chairman Everson that there was, many, many years ago, an accident that was, obviously tragic, but, the steps that are being taken here are steps that we believe will allow fishing to take place in the historical traditional manner. Also one of the most environmentally friendly manners because it's a multi-species catch, and we look for the application to be approved for 5 years. I'll answer any questions if you might.
Okay, thank you. I think everybody is well versed in the application, and all of it has been discussed. And one of the things that we were discussing at the very end of last meeting was if this was to be removed, or we wanted to have it removed, who was the authority to remove it? Who could order it removed? So I'll ask the harbor master. I know he's done a little bit of research, and if he would chime in on that one.
Good evening, Brian Taylor, Harbor Master. So after consulting with legal, it sounds like just the way that it's permitted, has to go through town council. In order for it to be removed, it would have to go through town council.
And
Right.
that's what I suggested at the last meeting, though I wasn't definitive. Any legislative body that has the right to approve something also has generally the right to revoke it.
And was it also, their opinion was for just cause?
Yeah, they really didn't get into that. They just said, just like the application process right now, which is approved by town council, it would need to be revoked by town council.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, Mr. Everson, again, and again, for, any type of permit that's granted or anything like that, generally these boards cannot be what is referred to in the law as arbitrary and capricious. But if they have a rational basis, it's generally approved. I'm speaking
Right.
in general legal terms, but that would be, in my opinion, the basis of the town council to revoke it if, based upon an evidence that they had that they would then present it to them, which obviously we would, the applicant might argue against to do this or do that, but generally that, there is a legal standard, but it's a reasonableness standard.
Correct. Okay, and for the Harbor Masters Department, would that buoy and any additional lighting or markings, would you be comfortable with that if proposed? I imagine he would have to register it with the Coast Guard as well, but to get it to the local notice to mariners and things like that. But any other recommendations on the safety aspect? Because this is my biggest concern is the safety.
Mine as well. And after reviewing some of Nantucket Fishware's applications previously, which Waterways Committee asked for the last 3 applications, which I provided, Mr. Kurt Martin, president of Nantucket Fishwares Inc., indicated that both sites, and this is on his application, would continue to have U.S. Coast Guard approved 3 yellow lights for each trap, and I would, request the same.
No issue with that whatsoever.
Okay.
Brian, would you be requesting that in addition to the white buoy? Is that what you're?
Yes, that's correct. So, well, I guess the white buoy could have the light. I think Deputy Harbor Master Jay Horn made a good point. During the day, some sort of danger buoy to the sort in front of the fishware may indicate to stay out of this location for navigational purposes. So it would be one white buoy indicating that there's a fishware here. We have some custom buoys that we get done that say, no wake through the stakes, something to the sort to indicate that there's a fishware here, and then the 3 yellow lights. Whether or not one of those is on the buoy itself is to be determined.
Okay, I mean, again, we would agree to all that, but the only caveat being would be subject to the approval of the Coast Guard or whatever the appropriate authorities. I do know that the Coast Guard does like the lights, but they don't like too many because I think too many can become a distraction. So we would certainly, whatever recommendation that the Coast Guard, who is the authority in that, we would.
Yeah, and to be honest, I see Kurt Martin here, and he may be able to chime in on some of this. I'm sure he's gone through the permitting process before in regards to the lights.
Okay, do we have Mr. Martin?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yep.
So with the lights, we're required to have 3 lights west of Point Gammon, 3 lights west of Point Gammon, 2 lights east of Point Gammon. So that's been a requirement for a long time. And every year I would contact the Coast Guard and the aids to navigation, or, tell them which sites I was setting up. So they would have them on file, and it would be, notice to mariner. So that was a standard practice every year.
Okay, so as you hear, the 3 lights permitted with the Coast Guard and the notice to mariners, and I would proceed the same.
Yeah, and if you look on the actual charts of like Nantucket Sound, you'll see the lights on there. Like if you look down towards Chatham, they have them marked, like out by Monomoy where there was fish traps permitted, and Kilpon Bar, and then up Osterville and just Squaw Island there.
Yeah, again, whatever, we're more than happy more than willing to implement those reasonable requests in addition to the buoys that Deputy Harbor Master Horn recommended.
Yeah, and I think the buoy is a great idea to put out in front of the trap. For last few years, there has been trouble with people, going through the traps whenever they might do it. And everybody with these boats nowadays, like you were talking with the docks and so forth, they'll have 2 outboards and 3 outboards, and they go faster, and they don't pay as much attention, I don't think, some of them. So the buoy there is a great idea, and it is a long-standing tradition with the weirs, so I hope you approve it.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Okay, anybody else want to speak to this? I have Jared Auerbach.
Yeah, hello? You got me?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to speak. So actually, so I own a seafood company called Red's Best. We work for a lot of local fishermen. I've worked with Jacob for probably over a decade now. He's just proven to be a really nice guy. It's really clear how much he cares about the ecosystem too, which is important. And, I just believe it's important for us to support young, ambitious commercial fishermen. I think it's a noble profession to harvest food for your community. And I know Kurt really well. We worked with Kurt when he ran the weir, and it's just a really nice thing to harvest seafood in this historic way and feed the community with it. So really wanted to speak though to Jacob's character and his ability as a business person. Just been impressed with that. So it would lead me to think that you'd have very few problems and be able to work out any issues that arise to keep this fish weir operation going. Thank you.
All right, sir, thank you. And do I have anybody else who wants to speak to this issue? Any committee members with any other input?
There are a couple hands up.
I can speak quickly, Mr. Everson. Thank you. It's
Yes,
Betty
go ahead.
Leckie, Town Councilor, Precinct 3. One of these weirs is proposed just offshore of my precinct. I remember the meeting last time, Attorney Lawler made a fantastic presentation, and you, Mr. Everson, brought up a horrible accident. And I think it was a good idea to continue it and just make sure we reset and have the safety protocols in place. I think those have been discussed very nicely tonight. The letters, I've been so impressed with all the letters in support. I too find Jake to be very professional. I hope this comes to the town council. I hope you approve it tonight and we give him a chance at, a 5-year run of this. I'm very excited about it. And I'm impressed with the committee's diligence and perseverance in getting to the root of this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Unfortunately, I'm operating off of an iPhone right now, so I can't see.
Mr.
So you have
Madden has
Eric
his
Hess.
hand up.
You have Eric Hess next.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Eric Hess.
Yes, hi, Mr. Hess, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a 40-year commercial fisherman here in the town of Barnstable. And while I appreciate your concern for safety, we all want a safe boating environment out there. And increasingly, I think that's an impossibility. For hundreds of years, traffic has passed through the sound, including my own vessels. And when people sailed through, they were much less likely to run into a fish weir than boats that go 50. And so I think proposing that you can make things completely safe is unreasonable. And in this case, you have to do everything you can to make it as safe as possible. I don't particularly understand the Coast Guard's 2 or 3 light requirement. Obviously too many lights can be confusing, but if every other pole was lighted, it would look like a solid object, from the water. It would look like something that, hey, slow down. So I've never understood that. I've passed the weirs many times at night. I understand what they are. They show up on my radar. But someone who's navigating through the fog by their cell phone won't see them. And, but they don't see the sea buoys either. And somebody ran into one of those last year, and it wasn't the sea buoy's fault, and it wasn't the Coast Guard's fault. So I just think, it sounds like you're on the verge of issuing this permit or encouraging this permit before the council on the basis that as long as no accidents happen, it can continue. And I think as long as they do everything they can, and I would suggest more lights, talk to local marine owners, post the locations, get it in the press, do everything you can, and then you've done everything you could. So as long as there's no negligence there, the permit should be for at least 5 years, because you have good years and bad years. That's the fishing industry. And the first year could be the bad year. So I encourage the permit. I know Jake, and he's a stand-up guy, and I appreciate you listening. Thanks.
All right, sir, thank you.
Yeah, JJ Madden next, sir.
Okay, Mr. Madden.
Hi, how's it going? I am a captain for Highline. I've been running the ferry to and from Nantucket in the Vineyard for over 10 years now. And just want to make a quick point, and then I have to go. But as far as safety is concerned, I've always felt the fish weirs that have been there in the past, they leave a giant target on the radar. It's really unmissable. The targets sometimes are bigger than the car ferries are. And they stand very tall above the water. They're very proud above the water, so they're easy to spot during the day. And at night or in the fog, like I mentioned, they're very noticeable on radar. You can't miss them. And I just don't feel like the fishermen should be punished for, operator error in some of the cases of the accidents. As tragic as it is, I don't believe those people were following good practices when they were operating their boat. But I got to go, so thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah, Vice President Chris Clark, Town Councilor, next.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for entertaining this or doing this work on behalf of the citizenry. I defer to the professional watermen. Mr. Hess and Mr. Madden have spoken to their professional and long-term experience on working on the water. And I do respect the input, of course, from the town staff. But I know Mr. Angelo, as having been a hard worker, he is very respectful of the natural systems in our town, and I appreciate someone with his vigor can take up a craft like this for a living, and with a fair amount of risk, and yet go out of his way to be as considerate as possible, as was previously mentioned. Negligence on somebody else's behalf you can't regulate poor behavior or negligent behavior. But I've already sent a letter to support that the WEIR process go forward for 5 years, and I echo Councillor Betty Lutke's support. This WEIR would be more directly in her precinct, but I appreciate that there's been due diligence done for evaluating this process, and I hope it's successful and another chapter in the history of how we feed our people from the sea. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all the hands that we currently have raised right now, Mr. Robertson.
Okay, thank you. One thing for the harbor master, we've talked about lights, but historically these have also been outfitted with radar reflectors, and I'd like to see some sort of a mandate or an inclusion of radar reflectors. Radar reflectors, as Mr. Madden had said, they light up, like a Christmas tree. They can see them sometimes better than a ferry, and I know from my experience when they were out there before, there were quite a few radar reflectors, like every third or fourth pole would have one. So something like that, I think we can certainly ask to have the radar reflectors put up, and certainly wouldn't interfere as much as, the Coast Guard's concerned with too many lights. So has that been discussed at all on this application? Maybe I'll even throw that out to to Council Waller.
I can't imagine though. I can't imagine those would be a problem. I don't think they're very expensive. So yeah, I mean, I know that Mr. Angelo is, in favor of doing this in a safe, economic way. I was unaware of those, so I don't want to comment, but I can't imagine that would be a problem. And it sounds like they've already been up there in the past. So yeah, that would not be a problem.
I can add
Okay.
that.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I can add that if you'd like, sir.
Yeah, I would, that the proper amount of radar reflection be attached so that it's readily identifiable in the night or in the fog with radar.
Reasonable request.
Okay.
Received.
Any other committee members want to make any other comments on this before we put it to a vote?
Yeah, I'm in favor of renewing it as long as it meets the standards by the Coast Guard and the Harbor Master's requirements for safety.
All right, Gary, thank you. Todd, any comments?
No, I think we've kind of covered as much as we possibly can. The safety concern has been brought to light. We understand the protocol to deal with it if it becomes an issue, and I certainly wish Mr. Angelo luck, and I hope it does continue. It is great for the community. And I think we did a great job in doing our due diligence and kind of ferreting out the process and how we can keep an eye on it. So I wish him luck. I wish everyone safety in the area, and I'd be happy to make the motion to put this to a vote.
All right, please do. It's
So moved. Make the motion to accept the proposal as presented and further amended per Harbor Master Taylor's additions and the few other things that we've all mutually agreed upon.
okay. And Gary, second?
Yes, second.
Okay, thanks. And Todd, in favor?
In favor.
Gary?
Yes.
And myself will be a yes. So with the conditions of the recommendations of the Harbor Master as far as the lighting and the other safety concerns, radar, reflectors, we can move on and pass that along, that it be recommended as proposed.
Thank you very much. And as always, I know you guys are volunteers and I really appreciate your time and efforts. And thank you to both Brian and Mr. Taylor with regard to the staff and everything. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I mean, Mr. Horn, I'm sorry, Jay.
I know who you meant. It's all
I had
right.
a senior moment, Jay. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, they're coming up more often and often.
And can we let Jacob back in?
Let's see if he's in the waiting room.
Yeah, I don't believe he is yet.
Yeah, Mr. Angelo is not in the waiting room just yet. I think he left altogether. He needs to rejoin.
I'll text him.
Would you send him a text?
I'll send him a text right now.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that does not affect our quorum. Okay. We have correspondence. No new business. Correspondence letter regarding unsafe docking for pirate adventures at BPM 0003. We have anybody?
Mr. Chairman, before you take this, are we all set on the voting? I've double
Yes.
committed myself and I need to move on if it's possible and won't impede the committee.
No, I don't think there's anything else that we're going to be voting on, so.
I appreciate that.
We're good.
Thank you, Mr. Willantis.
Sorry to jump out early. I apologize to everyone.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Jay, do we have the letter
Jacob
from
Angelo is coming back in now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, good. All right, so we'll maintain the quorums. That's good. Pirate Adventures?
So
Jay, do you have the letter, Jay, or I know we have Mr. Peter Farber, which submitted the letter for Mr. Drake present.
yeah, I have all the photos that you asked me. I don't have the letter itself. I know Polly emailed that to the committee.
Would you like the letter, Mr. Farber? Could probably bring it up, or do you want to just talk and go through the photos? That's up to you.
No, I have the letter and it's very short. We have actually two letters. First of all, can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is Peter Farber, and I'm an attorney in Chatham, and I've been representing Nathaniel Drake. He goes by Than, is his nickname. He has occupied berth number 3 in the Bismore South boat slips for more than 15 years. His boat is very unique. It is a pretend make-believe pirate ship. He uses that commercially. He gives tours, I guess you'd call them, for young kids, their parents, beginning in mid-June and continuing through Labor Day. They do approximately 5 trips a day. So they're in and out of the slip quite often. They have very experienced captains at the helm, but they have teenagers who as crew. And of course, as we all know, teenagers are not always as careful as they should be. And it's been a problem beginning last summer when the adjoining slip number 2 was leased to a boat called the Angler. The slip itself, the combined slip, is, and I measured it, 37 feet 8 inches on average, 37.4 at one end and 37.11 at the other. It's slightly reduced because I believe the captain or the owner of the Angler has installed some vertical 4x4s to the posts. And so it's actually a little less than 37 feet 8 inches. The Sea Gypsy has a beam of 14 feet 11 inches. It has these make-believe cannons that are permanent that increase the width of the beam to 15 feet 6 inches. But that's still less than half of the open space in the combined slips 2 and 3. And there was never a problem until last year. The harbor master assigned slip number 2 to this boat called the Angler, which I'm told is a head boat, which I think we all know what that is. Its beam, I don't have the Coast Guard credentials, but it looks to be 21 feet. The result is that when both boats are berthed, there's less than 2 feet space between the two vessels. On a windy day, or even a partially windy day, the entry of the Sea Gypsy into their slip, their half of the slip, is very tenuous. The boat is not equipped with bow thrusters, and so people have to reach out and fend off as they come in. And of course, leaving the slip is the same. And we're very concerned, and we expressed this to Brian Taylor and Derek Lawson last summer, and that somebody is going to get injured, probably one of these children, because they're going to forget that these are very large boats, very heavy boats. And when they're coming in and out, this is not some 13-foot Boston whaler. It's, there's a lot of movement coming in and out. And so we've asked the harbor master if he could assign the Angler to another slip, a slip where it would not take up more than half the space, which is the case in 2 and 3. And after our communications last summer, the angler did depart and was berthed somewhere else in the harbor. And so this ceased to be an issue. And we were hopeful that this summer there would not be a problem, that the angler, would be someplace else. But darned if it didn't reappear in berth 2. And so we're facing the same problem. And, it's halfway through the summer, pretty much. And we're just very fearful that these are not compatible with this slip. What we're asking is any number of a couple things. Brian Taylor did meet with Than, and suggested a berth in the north end. I think it's A6 and one of the B berths. And we did look at those, but they're for much smaller boats. The Sea Gypsy is 47 feet long. The Angler is 75 feet long. And they're just incompatible for these slips. A and B do not provide there's not enough turning space for a 47-foot boat. And we would harm, or should certainly cause problems for the boats that are presently berthed there. The other option is slip or berth number 10, which is a single berth at the end, the far south end of this group of slips, which is a perfect solution. And my client has offered to, since he's only using the slip from roughly mid-June to a week after Labor Day, that slip would be available for transient vessels before June and certainly after the Labor Day, which we think would be a perfect solution. And obviously, what we're talking about is our safety concerns. And we understand that the town of Barnstable makes money by this berthing policy. But when you compare the two, all of us would feel very, very awful and stupid if some child got their hands squished or fingers squished because we weren't as sharp as we should be in looking into this. So I understand that Mr. Taylor, we had planned to meet this spring with town council, Kate Connolly. Then she left. All of a sudden, one day, we realized that she notified us she was leaving to go into private practice. So the meeting never occurred with town council. But we feel, and I think Than Drake was before your committee last fall, and at that time, the feeling was that something could be worked out. But here we are, 10 months later, and nothing has been worked out. So we're asking for your input and thoughts on the matter and see if there might be a solution that would be workable for everyone. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. It's my understanding the harbor master has been in correspondence with Dan and maybe had offered him other slips. Who's occupying number A10 right now? Do we know?
Transient. Than said it's a transient, so we don't know. It's just a slip that I assume is available on call, but I know no more than that.
Okay. The harbor master, would you like to make a comment on this?
Brian Taylor, Harbor Master. So slip 10 through 4 currently is for the transient commercial vessels that frequent Hyannis Inner Harbor. Last year we had about 75 commercial vessels that transient Hyannis Inner Harbor and docked at Bismore. This year it's more about 85 to 90. We saw about 10 to 15 new vessels. So what we do for the commercial fishing industry is allow first come, first serve usage with 10 through 3. They come into the offload zone that is located just south of slip number 10, as you see on your screen. They offload their catch, and if a slip is available, they can pull in, dock up, get some sleep, go back out. It's a very busy harbor. At times, we will have 3 to 4 boats looking to offload at any point in time. And so that should answer your question for slip 10. In regards to this situation, me and Mr. Drake have met on multiple occasions in my office here at MEA. I've really tried to work with him as well as the existing slip holder to see if he had any smaller vessels that could accommodate. The slip holder that was permitted to 2 came through a wait list. He did wait his turn. He was offered a slip. That vessel is 65 feet, to put that on record. And I believe there are some images, Jay, if you could maybe bring them up, that I sent earlier today to the Waterways Committee members in relation to the slip, so you can kind of get a visual. This is not the only location, as you can see in the image, of vessels that are tight. As you can see, between 4 and 5 right now, those 2 vessels are almost touching each other. It is, again, a very busy area with different vessels of different lengths and beams tying up next to each other. It's a working harbor, and it's mainly this location, Bismore, although we do have quite a few slip holders, contracted slip holders. It is a working harbor for the commercial fishing industry, and it's a main port of entry to offload their catch. This little offload zone is one of the highest grossing offload zones in southeastern Massachusetts, right after New Bedford. So it's kind of like the spot where they fish the sound, they come in, rather than make the trip to New Bedford, they come in here. So realistically, I'd like to leave 10 through 4 open for that commercial fishing industry. I get really restricted when I'm putting certain size vessels next to each other, and some of these commercial vessels are beamier than others. Already right now, I have a few. If fishing vessel Tom Slaughter, which is 75 feet, pulls into slip 6, slip 7 is almost unusable. And so that one boat takes up 2 spots. It's just the configuration I have right now. To efficiently utilize space, we try to keep the existing slip holders that we have on A and B dock, and slip 1, 2, and 3 to allow for the usage.
I would like to respond, please.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Dan Drake, thanks for listening in. I'm not interested at all in tying up the unloading dock. I am interested in berth 10, which is adjacent to the unloading dock. However, it is not part of the unloading dock. I can function safely there. It's a 50-foot pier. My boat is 47 feet long. I'm not sure if I heard Brian say Angler was 65 feet. In Angler's advertising, they refer to the boat as a 75-foot boat, and it is currently on a 60-foot pier. It is overhanging that pier because they don't go all the way into the bulkhead. So it's extending beyond the length of the pier by nearly 20, 60, 75, yeah, by 20 feet. It's a very large vessel. True, there are more commercial boats, and they are beamy, and I'm getting squeezed out. I really feel I'm getting squeezed out by the larger boats. I believe the harbor master is favoring the bigger boats, and I understand why, because everybody charges by the length, and the longer, the bigger boats pay more. I am not a commercial fishing boat. I am a passenger carrying boat. I typically have 20 children on board and 20 adults on each trip. They are not assigned, they are not sitting in seat belts. We do tell everyone to sit down when we enter and leave the slip, and keep your limbs in, do not reach out. However, 45 people, somebody is bound to bounce up, jump up. Even adults want to help out and fend off with the pilings. My boat weighs 30,000 pounds. If they get their hands, their fingers in between the pilings and my rail. They have a crushed and mauled hand. I can't chain the people to their seats or shackle them. We don't have room to maneuver when we come in. We are tight against the pilings. We are scraping on our way in. My cannons are made of PVC. There, a couple of them have exploded with shrouds of plastic. There's no room to maneuver. We're either rubbing against the angler or rubbing against the pilings. Before angler was there, I would train my crew. We were going to toss the spring lines when we are 3 or 4 feet from the pier. Right now, we don't have that room. We don't have any room at all, and it's unsafe. And we go in and out 500 times a season. If I was down at berth 10, I would also have the advantage of being right under the nose of the dockmaster. I don't get any assistance where I am down at berth 3 from the dockmasters. A dragger next to me could be welding, arc welding, cutting torches, and no one from the dockmaster's office comes down and says, "Hey, hold off on the welding until Drake loads his boat and gets out of here. Do something else for 20 minutes." I don't get any of that type of assistance. I think I will get better protection, better safety for my crew and passengers if I am in berth 10, right in front of the dockmaster's office. That they can't help but see what's going on at my boat. As it is right now, they don't come down. They don't come down, and I really want to be in berth 10. I could operate safely there. It'd be a good place. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Well, what I would suggest is we'll continue to work with the harbor master to figure out, have you been offered other slips?
Yes. Yeah, Brian offered me A6 and B1. Those slips, when this dock system was built, those piers are 30 feet long, which to me indicates, and I've also talked to a slip holder there. He said these slips were built for 30-foot long boats. Anything more than 30 foot encumbers on the open space in between. I tried to dock over there and I was ricocheting back and forth. It's a 35-foot boat can get in there, but I'm 47 feet long. I'm 12, 15 feet longer than that. And there are already oversized boats in there, which even makes the space more difficult to maneuver. Where I am right now, it's a squeeze in. If you were to drive to Bradford's Hardware and park and get out, you have more space between cars than I have between Angler and the pier, and it's untenable. Thank you.
Okay, sir, thank you.
I have a comment and a suggestion.
Go ahead, Jacob.
Slip 10, I feel like is an important slip for bigger vessels with much more restricted, maneuverability in there. Especially since, there's not another dock next to it, and like in this picture right here, that's if maybe the largest vessel in that picture is on that slip, maybe for the same reason that I'm thinking. So I just feel like for the harbor in general, to tie up slip 10 with a smaller vessel for a 46-foot vessel would just be not really the greatest idea. But a good suggestion that I might have, and hear me out on this one. Right now, this time of year, during your season, the wind is predominantly out of the southwest. It's coming out of the southwest.
Right.
Every day. Now, I wonder if what if you just switched sides with the angler so that when you came in and you turned, you come into the harbor, go alongside, you know, the restaurant there, Baxter's, and then you took a left and then came back. And then when you pulled in, you would almost be going against the wind, which has a lot more control than getting blown into your neighbor. And then you'd have that dock to work with. I mean, just think about it's a little bit hard to maybe imagine right now as I'm saying it, but think about how that harbor is with there's a little southwest wind. If the angler had switched spots with you and and it was a copacetic situation, then you could just it might just make docking a little bit easier just by that small switch of
Yes,
just
yes, I acknowledge that. We do get that lee effect naturally when we get in close to the dock. Like particularly like if Tom Slaughter is in number 4, the wind dies out because we're in his lee. Also, the trees, the building, the bulkhead, it calms down dramatically once we get our bow in to the first piling. However, that's not the issue. It's we are jammed. If the pictures came through, we have no space to maneuver. We are hard against the pilings, or we are hard against our bumpers foul up on their bumpers, which pivots my boat, and then I lose control. So we can't even use the bumpers going in and out. And I also would like to respond again about berth 10. There's a reason why berth 10 is only a 50-foot pier. It's the longest piers are in the middle, 70, then they go to 60. Berth 10 has a 50-foot pier. I think that was part of the original design because of, as you see in that photo, there's a 70-foot boat at berth 10, and that is inhibiting other boats that want to get into the unloading dock. Also, right there is the pump out station, public access to the pump out station. Yachts, private boats, anybody with a holding tank needs to get in there. With that 70-foot boat sticking out, it makes it very difficult to get to the pump out station, to get to the bulkhead to get fuel, or for these boats to unload. So I think it's wrong for a boat over 50 feet to be in berth 10. Thank you.
This is Peter Farber, just one more time. And it seems to me that the berths 2 and 3, no vessel should take up more than half the space. You should not have there's 37 feet 8 inches in there. The Sea Gypsy is less than 16 feet. So you could if you can find an 18-foot boat to replace the angler in slip number 2, then you have roughly 4 feet between the two vessels, and that solves the whole problem. It's just the angler is too big. It takes up more than half the space, and that is unfair to the other occupant. So we would ask that Mr. Taylor look into that, find another space for a boat that size, like the angler, and find a somewhat more narrow boat to put in slip number 2. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Farber, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Drake, and we'll encourage the harbor master to keep working with you guys, and that's a great suggestion. Try to come up with some parity and size of boats next to each other and accommodate it that way if we can.
I have a question. Brian, why does the angler have 2x4s on edge on their pylons?
They have 2x4s on the pilings because during storms or higher tides, they come up over the pilings, and that's to hold them on location. Because
Okay,
the pilings,
that makes sense.
yeah,
I was
the
just
pilings
curious.
were installed a very long time ago. We're currently, to be honest, we're currently looking at this location. Phase 1 was rehabilitating the bulkhead. Phase 2, which is starting very soon, we've been having some preliminary conversations and met with the engineering firms in regards to redesigning the slips, whether they're fixed piers, floating docks, but We've obviously identified that the beam, as the vessels have gotten larger and the beams have gotten larger, we need to modify the length in between the slips. So that's phase two. We're looking at that right now. We filed a grant for this location to help pay for some of the potential either repairs and or modification as well as the design. So these are all things we're working on right now. I have been working with Mr. Drake. I understand his concern. I appreciate his persistence. But at the end of the day, I have an operation to run here. I have multiple vessels that access this location, as in all the marinas I have. If I was to divide a slip berthing space up in half for every slip holder, I would be very limited to what I could get in. As you're aware, Mr. Ceramic, in Barnstable Harbor, not everyone has an equal space on each location. I have to officially utilize space for the vessels that I have. Every single year that can change. Next year could be a new vessel that comes off the wait list. The current slip holder could do a change of vessel for the berth. Things can change year to year, and I have to officially utilize the space that I have within the parameters that I have. And that's what I believe I'm doing at this time. The other side of this too is I have to weigh the options of that operation of the commercial fishing industry. In tying up slip 10 and putting a slip contract holder in this, even for a temporary point of view, it's not the way to go, because at times when storms are coming, people are rafted up there. We're backing up right to slip 10. We're rafting off slip 10, and we're fitting 2 to 3 vessels in this location at any time.
Thank you. It's very helpful.
I know it's running late, but I do have 3 quick comments. And Brian is absolutely right about the need to extend the pilings up. The pilings were cut too short originally, so for big boats, their bow lines slip off the top of the pilings. However, and I did speak to Brian about this, and he said it could have been done. They're 4x4s, not 2x4s. They are set on the inside of the piling, therefore reducing the common space by 3.5 inches. Those 4x4s could have been bolted on along side of the pilings so that they would not be reducing the space. You could still extend the pilings up, but do so without reducing the interior space but for the slip. Also, and now I'm forgetting my other points, but that's it.
Yeah, but we did have a conversation about that at the beginning of the season, because we talked about potentially moving you to slip 4, but I wasn't able to restrict a commercial vessel in slip 5 and the size that goes in there. We did talk about potentially modifying those extensions to the side to allow for 4 more inches, and whether or not that would suffice the issue that we had about obviously the space. And it didn't sound to me like that's the route you wanted to go.
Well, right. But when they all snapped off in June with a northeaster, 3 of the 4 snapped off. Did they come to you and ask permission to reinstall those? I mean, they just went ahead and did all this stuff, and it annoys me. It really annoys me.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think if we just keep the dialogue open, Harbor Master will continue to work with you and try to come up with that much better solution. And I think that's the way to proceed with this. Just keep the dialogue open, keep working together, and if you identify something else that could work, and be open to, even if he gives you another slip, take the boat and try it. Just be open to.
Yeah, I've been doing that. I spent a day trying berth 10. I spent a day trying berth A6 and B1, which was a fiasco because there was no way it was going to work out. What Brian has offered stuff, but it's no good. I'm still going to run 150 trips, and I worry each day about my passengers and crew, and it's not safe. and I hope you have a chance to read the letter from Captain Chris Fox. He's probably got more sea time than anyone in Massachusetts, and he thinks I've had to increase my liability insurance because of this situation. I did it. It's just it's unsafe. It's unsafe.
Okay, sir. Well, thank you for your input. Do we have any other business? Harbor Master report?
Yes, sir. Jay Horn, Deputy Harbor Master, Mooring Officer. We always talk about the things we do here at MEA throughout the course of the year, and I just wanted to share with the committee a couple of pictures from the last month or so to give you kind of an idea of the things that we respond to and what goes on here throughout the summer, throughout the year. So just give me a second here so I can bring up my screen. A couple weeks ago, we had a real strong southwest that came through. This vessel ended up on the beach in Bridge Street. Very rare for me to have a boat on the shore in Katuitt. It's been years since it happened. In this particular case, the pennant failed. It was a brand new pennant. It was installed just weeks prior to this incident, but it wasn't stitched properly at the factory, and that was determined to be the cause of failure. Towboat did come in and remove this vessel from the beach at a later tide, and there was no damage to any of the vessels in the mooring field or to this boat itself. Had a little bit of a bend in the propeller. It was hauled out, inspected, and he's back in the water. Prince Cove boat ramp. This happens about once a year. We always get a call for a vehicle or a trailer that has gone too far down the boat ramp. And we mentioned maintenance before. This is our safe boat, 27-foot safe boat that we got back in 2022. We just reached 1,000 hours on her. So we do everything: thermostats, water pumps, lower unit oil, engine oil, fuel filters, everything. We do all the maintenance here in-house and keep our vessels running in tip-top shape. We recently had to go replace the West Bay light. This is the red coming into the West Bay cut. It's a 2 nautical mile light. Had some issues with it last year from the manufacturer. We got it warranted. This is our new assistant harbor master, John Flynn. He's a great guy. He's been a great addition to the crew. We do it as safe as we can. The ladder's strapped to the pole. He's wearing a climbing harness that's strapped to the light itself for safety. We're always out in the mooring fields and we're checking for compliance. We came across one of our licensed servicers came across this derelict mooring, and we were able to haul it out with our vehicles, with the winches that we have equipped on our trucks. It was around 2,000 pounds all said and done. We had to have highway come down with a front end loader to actually remove it from the landing. But this was at Ropes Beach, and we were happy to get that out of the water. This was a vessel that washed up in the marsh in Barnstable Harbor. We again had a storm come through. I saw on the wind meter that there was gusts over 70 miles an hour that night. In total, 3 boats broke free this day that were reported to the harbor master's office that morning. This was one of them that I responded to. No damage again to the vessels themselves. And with the wind direction, they all kind of landed safely on the beach. Just last week, we had a very late call of a vessel that either struck the jetty or a rock outside of Hyannisport in Nantucket Sound. The initial report was unclear, but ourselves, Hyannis Fire, Barnstable Police responded to that incident. I did see the vessel when it was out of the water. I saw pictures of it at least, and it was a 32-foot Boston whaler that had substantial damage done to the keel. Both parties on board. We're extremely lucky that nobody got injured in this incident. Got a great crew this year. In case you don't know, we picked up a couple of Mass Maritime individuals 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. Great addition to the staff, very knowledgeable. They help us respond to emergencies at night. This is Tyler McKay, our assistant harbor master, and Sam Euskadis, who's Mass Maritime graduate now. He's going to be either going in the Navy or working for an offshore company. And also, we've been doing mooring inspections in light of some changes that we had in the program. We discovered a helix when we were inspecting a helix. It actually turned out to be a 250-pound mushroom with a bunch of old chain attached to it. So it wasn't exactly what was listed underneath that individual's account. And I think that wraps it up, gentlemen. Once again, we're busy. We're excited that we're in summer, and we're doing the best we can to keep everyone safe.
Great, thanks, Jay. One other thing I wanted to add, the harbor master and I have discussed the Bridge Street landing, how it has become sanded over, and we're trying to maintain. There was a hard surface underneath, and historically the DPW would take a front end loader down there and scoop out the sand and dump it to the side just to help maintain that that landing and access for launching boats. So more on that to come. That has been looked at by conservation, and hopefully we'll report back in the next meeting or two that they'll be able to resume that practice.
Yeah, DPW did indicate they were going to clean that area off. Yet to be determined. I think it was the end of this week they were going to do it, or last week. I'll follow up with Sean Jones regarding that. I believe Mr. Neary has something to say. He's raising his hand. I don't know if you can see him, Paul.
No, I can't. I'm sorry. Jeff.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Harbor Master. I just, you all do an amazing job with really limited resources here in the town. And there was an economic development committee that was out some years ago, maybe 15 now, that had a proposal for a dock, floating piers off of Calmus. And I know there was some difficulty, I think, with the trust, but the town has obviously grown, and I can't imagine how happy it'd probably make the harbor master if he had additional places to, areas to have vessels in town with, greater access to the waterway and the
I
whole
was
bit.
just looking for the map. It was called, I think the marina was called Calamar. And I save it. It's somewhere in my office here, the blueprints of it. And yes.
I think it might have been Mr. Catignani years ago who was on that, and I came across it some years back. I think the size of it was probably too big, and that there was certainly be some conservation concerns. But boy, oh boy, if we could get some additional opportunities for boats to. I grew up in Lewis Bay, so opportunities to get boats or slips out there. Boy, maybe it's something we should. Just think about, talk about, maybe spread the word, see if there's any traction on that going forward. I think it would be great. I think it'd be great.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Just a quick update, like our transient mooring program, Jay's really been leading behind this and permitting the moorings to the Army Corps of Engineers. It's exploded this year through DACWA. I mean, every single day, every single week. Just this year, believe it or not, Bismore and Gateway actually exploded with individuals booking transient dockage. Bismore historically, like I said, has been more of a working harbor, commercial fishing industry, some charter fishing boats. This year is the first time I saw an explosion of recreational vessels. It could be the price. but I've seen a lot of people interested in booking transient dockage. A lot of local people that have boats that don't have access to a mooring or a slip contract have been coming out booking a mooring for the weekend. So that program in itself has really exploded. We've gone from a few moorings to now 5 in Hyannis itself, 2 in Katuitt. Now we put one out in Barnstable Harbor. Barnstable Harbor, the second we put it out there, some of the people that were transiting it through the canal and the East End, a lot of sailboaters were booking it up. Like, I couldn't believe the increase in traffic Dockwell got. I think I was showing Jay the other day. It was like 11,000% views in Barnstable for Dockwell. It's just amazing with the amount of people that are checking out our facilities and what we have to offer. But I appreciate the comments. And yeah, I mean, we have 100 miles of coastline. We have 4 marinas. I tell some harbor masters, they're like, you manage 4 marinas? We do have 4 marinas. It's a lot to manage, but we're a coastal community. Everyone wants access to the water. We get 2,600 mooring permits, and we would appreciate anything else we can get to try to get people out there.
That's fantastic. It's good to hear. Thank you all for moving on with what you're doing. It can be tricky at times. It's great.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Council. All right, anybody have anything further they'd like to add? And if not, we'll stand adjourned and see you in August. Thanks, everybody, for your hard work and devotion to getting this done.